We all know that Goku manages to constantly impress pretty much everyone around him with his incredible feats and transformations. But today is a rare day in which we're not gonna talk about his many accomplishments. Instead, we're gonna talk about some amazing moments in the Dragon Ball franchise that managed to impress even the mighty Goku himself. We'll talk about some of his toughest foes, most inspiring mentors, and much more. Goku's first encounter with Master Roshi wasn't actually all that impressive, as the 300-year-old turtle hermit more often than not carried himself as a general Creeposaurus Rex rather than the most experienced and talented martial artist the world had ever seen. Let's just say that Goku was left much more impressed by Roshi on their second encounter when he agreed to douse the eternal flames of Fire Mountain. This sequence in particular stands as one of the most pivotal in the whole Dragon Ball franchise, which is seriously saying something in a property known for its paradigm shift moments. Master Roshi's unveiling of the max power Kamehameha was the very first peek behind the curtain of Dragon Ball's seemingly limitless world of ki control and power-ups. In one moment, Roshi appeared laughably weak and feeble, barely able to climb up onto a brick wall. But in the next, his muscles exploded outward, and his stature doubled in size. Roshi unleashed a torrent of raw, never-before-seen energy from his bare hands, completely eradicating the fire around the mountain, along with the mountain itself. Needless to say, Goku was utterly floored by this display of strength, and he was even more amazed when Roshi offered to take him under his wing as a pupil. Fast forwarding a bit, we find Goku in the frigid land near Jingle Town, where the insidious Red Ribbon Army has managed to establish a presence in the form of Muscle Tower. Up until this point, Goku saw the Red Ribbon Army as more of an inconvenience hindering his hunt for his sentimental 4-star Dragon Ball. But when he promised to rid the local village of their invaders, Goku soon learned that the Red Ribbon Army may in fact have some heavy hitters in their ranks. After breezing on through the first floor of foot soldiers, Goku reaches the floor of Major Metallotron, the first Red Ribbon mechanized warrior introduced in the series. Interestingly, this character is the only android built by the Red Ribbon Army to not receive a numbered designation, like the others that would later appear in Dragon Ball Z. Goku is immediately taken aback by Major Metallotron, having seriously underestimated his abilities at first. Goku finds himself more and more impressed by his opponent as their fight continues, with Major Metallotron proving himself a formidable opponent for the young Saiyan. Even after taking a Kamehameha directly to the face, Major Metallotron managed to continue his onslaught, leaving Goku utterly impressed and terrified. Mercenary Tao's introduction to the Red Ribbon Army saga stands as another one of those game-changing moments in the world of Dragon Ball. Presented as a cold-blooded assassin from the very moment he hit the small screen, Tao was a threat not to be taken lightly. He did take down the intimidating General Blue using only his tongue, after all. Tao was touted as the Red Ribbon Army's trump card, a bazooka brought to a knife fight. Heck, even his own employers were terrified of the guy. Tao arrived at the base of Korin's tower just as Goku was preparing to embark on its arduous climb, making quite the entrance. He wasted no time in dispatching Bora, the guardian of Korin's tower, and then turning his malevolent gaze toward Goku. Goku was pushed to his absolute limit in the following fight, amazed to meet a martial artist with such incredible strength. While Goku put up one heck of a fight, he ultimately fell victim to Mercenary Tao's signature Dodon Ray. Luckily for Goku, his recently acquired 4-star Dragon Ball shielded his body from the lethal brunt of Tao's attack. Unluckily for Tao, that encounter only served to further fuel Goku's determination. Goku had originally traveled to the sacred land of Korin in search of his grandfather's 4-star Dragon Ball. But upon arriving, he learned about Korin's tower, and the sacred water said to reside at its very top. The sacred water, according to Bora, would grant anyone who drank it an incredible boost in strength and speed. After narrowly surviving his encounter with Mercenary Tao, Goku was more determined than ever to make the seemingly impossible climb, and harness the gifts of the water for himself. After a full day of non-stop climbing, Goku finally reached the top, only to find out that Korin appeared to be little more than a floofy little talking cat. Looks in Dragon Ball are often deceiving though, and Korin proved to be more than a match for Goku, keeping the sacred water just out of his grasp, even explaining that it took Master Roshi 3 years of struggling to finally claim it for himself. After several days of constant attempts to take the water, including an unfortunate fall to the bottom of the tower, Goku finally managed to outmaneuver the small deity and claim the sacred water. But it turned out to be just ordinary old water. Korin proudly explained to Goku that the legendary power boost was nothing more than the result of hard work and dedicated training. Goku first met Tenshinhan and his partner Chaozu during his globe-spanning training run leading up to the 24th World Martial Arts Tournament. The Crane School duo was using their skills to run cons on small villages, milking them for resources and leaving before the townsfolk could catch on. Irked by this, Goku agreed to help some villagers find justice by confronting the traveling con men. In what has become a classic move on Goku's part, he again underestimated his opponents and fell victim to one of Tien's dirty trick attacks. Goku didn't get a chance to see a proper match with Tien until the 24th World Martial Arts Tournament kicked off, where he watched the three-eyed fighter square up against the defending world champion Jackie Chun. Chun, who was actually Master Roshi in disguise, found himself outmatched by Tien, and actually threw the match, blowing Goku and everyone else's minds. When the final match between Goku and Tien finally arrived, it was the culmination of the whole Dragon Ball series up to that point. The choreography, animation, and pacing stands up even to this day as one of the best fights in all of anime. By the end of that match, Goku, and especially the audience, were left more than impressed. For fans of Dragon Ball, jumping from the earth-cracking bout between Tien and Goku to, Yajirobe might seem a bit unbelievable. But at the time, Yajirobe was actually quite impressive in his own way. Goku first ran into the antisocial samurai shortly following the 24th World Martial Arts Tournament, and his first encounter with the nefarious tambourine. As with most of Goku's eventual allies, the two first met as foes because Goku had unknowingly devoured a fish that Yajirobe was roasting over a fire. Both fighters were impressed at how evenly matched they were before being interrupted by one of King Piccolo's soldiers, Symbol. Yajirobe won a round of rock, paper, scissors for the right to fight the winged menace, and actually managed to dispatch the demon with surprisingly little effort. Probably Yajirobe's most impressive feat of all, though, was what he did after slicing Symbol down to size. He quickly built a fire and roasted his former opponent whole. Not only that, but he ate every single bit of Symbol in the blink of an eye. If Goku wasn't impressed by his fighting skills, he certainly was by his stomach. The arrival of Demon King Piccolo represented another major turning point in Dragon Ball, shifting the series even further from its comedic slapstick roots toward a much darker, high-stakes martial arts anime. Piccolo represented the greatest threat the Earth had ever seen up to that point in the series, and the show pulled very few stops in building up his threatening persona. Goku's very first encounter with Piccolo was about as one-sided as they come. Even though Goku came at him with everything he had, Piccolo still mopped the floor with him, even managing to stop his heart for a short while. It took some divine intervention in the form of the Ultra Divine Water, which actually did give a power-up this time for Goku to finally overtake the Green Menace. While Goku eventually managed to defeat the original Demon King Piccolo, just 3 short years later, he faced off against the even more powerful and determined Piccolo Jr. in the 25th World Martial Arts Tournament. With both fighters giving it 110% over several action-packed episodes, there's a reason the Goku vs. Piccolo match finds its way into so many top 10 and even top 5 best Dragon Ball fights of all time lists. The arrival of Raditz both shrank and greatly expanded the world of Dragon Ball all at once. All of a sudden, Goku, our hero for years now, was revealed to be an alien invader, originally sent to Earth to lay waste to its inhabitants. Raditz, who was supposedly a low-class warrior, took every shred of power from both Goku and Piccolo to defeat. When he revealed that 2 more Saiyans much stronger than he'd ever be would be arriving in a year, the stakes suddenly got impossibly high. When Vegeta and Nappa did finally arrive, they certainly did not disappoint. Well, Nappa kind of did once Goku showed up, but all that did was show the humongous power gap between the 2 remaining Saiyans and the rest of the Z-Fighters. Goku and Vegeta's first bout stands the test of time as one of the greatest fights in anime history, as it not only provided an incredibly satisfying conclusion to the first arc of Dragon Ball Z, but it laid the groundwork for the now legendary rivalry between the 2 warriors. If anyone was more impressed by the powers displayed during this fight than Goku, it was probably Vegeta himself, who was utterly floored by the idea of a low-level Saiyan making such incredible gains. Frieza's looming threat was felt throughout the entire first half of Dragon Ball Z. The eventual showdown between Frieza and Goku was built up so efficiently and expertly over the course of the Namek saga that kids all across the US watching the original Toonami Funimation run had reached a critical mass of hype by the time the two fighters finally stood face to face. For the longest time, viewers didn't even have a face to connect to the Space Tyrant. All we had to go off was Vegeta's terrified reaction to the idea that Frieza had finally caught wind of the Dragon Balls and was headed to Namek to collect them for himself. Vegeta! This seemingly unstoppable force of nature that took the combined efforts of Earth's mightiest fighters to incapacitate was mortified at the mere mention of Frieza's name. Especially after Vegeta's terror at facing the Ginyu Force and then Goku's effortless dispatching of them, Frieza still seemed light years ahead. Frieza pushed Goku harder than any other villain in the series had, ultimately tipping him over the emotional ledge, triggering his first Super Saiyan transformation. If his life wasn't quite as endangered, Goku probably would have been starstruck by Frieza's power. The afterglow coming out of the Frieza saga and witnessing Goku's first transformation into a Super Saiyan left some big shoes to fill for the series. A lot of people agree that the fateful showdown between Goku and Frieza was a perfectly fitting ending for the series as a whole. But with its popularity at an all-time high, Dragon Ball Z somehow managed to push forward and find even greater heights in the coming sagas. 1 year after Frieza's defeat, everyone was excitedly awaiting Goku's return, only to sense a familiar and terrible force approaching the planet. It turns out that Frieza had survived Namek's destruction and had been rebuilt into a cybernetic monstrosity fueled entirely by vengeance. Luckily for everyone at the time, though, Frieza and his father King Cold were immediately dispatched by the sudden appearance of a brand new sword-wielding Super Saiyan. When Goku finally arrived, this new Saiyan introduced himself privately as Trunks, the future son of Bulma and Vegeta, and warned of the impending arrival of the androids in the future. Before returning back to the future, though, Trunks asked Goku to demonstrate his powers, to which he did not disappoint. During this exchange, Goku was equally impressed to meet another Super Saiyan, especially one as promising as Trunks. Secretly grown in the sub-basement of Dr. Gero's lab, Cell represented the ultimate achievement in genetic synthesis and raw power. Cell was a hybrid, created through a merging of DNA from all the greatest fighters in the universe. He carried the regenerative abilities of Piccolo and the Zenkai boost abilities of the Saiyans, as well as traits from Frieza, King Cold, and many others. Cell first arrived on the scene in his imp form after literally sucking an entire city dry in order to absorb their energy. Even in his weakest form, Cell posed a considerable threat to even androids 17 and 18, who were able to easily tear Super Saiyan Vegeta down a few pegs. In fact, Cell was so imposing that he drove Piccolo and Kami to merge back together in the hopes of stopping him. Even then, Piccolo stood no chance, as Cell had managed to absorb Android 17 and reach his semi-perfect form. Even in this form, Goku knew that Cell was too much to handle, prompting him and Gohan to train for an entire year inside the hyperbolic time chamber. When the two finally did come to blows, Goku was downright impressed by Perfect Cell's immense strength and ability. So much so that he forfeited his match so that an even stronger fighter could take his place. Many could argue that Gohan, not Goku, is the main character of Dragon Ball Z. From the very first episode, Gohan's character was portrayed in a much more personal way than the others. Gohan differed greatly from his father. He was ultimately a pacifist and only resorted to violence when faced with no other choice. But it was those moments of desperation that hinted at a terrible and unmatchable power boiling just beneath the surface of this usually kind and sensitive human Saiyan hybrid. Time and time again, Gohan would unknowingly unleash this power on opponents like Raditz, Vegeta, and even Frieza. It wasn't until the Cell Saga, though, that Gohan would finally begin to understand how to truly tap into that rage. While training in the hyperbolic time chamber, Goku noticed Gohan's true potential, understanding that he was right on the brink of a major breakthrough. It was with this in mind that Goku pulled out of his match with Cell, volunteering Gohan as his replacement, much to the horror of everyone else. Although for the briefest moment it appeared as though Goku's plan would fail, Cell sealed his own defeat by destroying Android 16 right in front of Gohan. This one act pushed Gohan too far over the edge, unlocking the Super Saiyan 2 transformation for the first time ever. Understandably so, Goku, along with everyone else, even Cell, was left utterly impressed. Ah, the Buu saga. Some love it, some really hate it, but most fans can agree that it features some of the best transformation scenes in the series. God-tier animation and choreography, all topped off with an incredible showdown between Goku and the titular villain, Majin Buu. Buu was first introduced as this confusing, amorphous, chubby ball of bubblegum that really threw our heroes for a loop. Here was this character built up over dozens of episodes as this unstoppable force of nature, just goofing and gaffing around like some kind of man-sized baby. First impressions aren't everything, though, as Buu very quickly managed to shed himself of his childish limitations, ultimately reaching his purest form, Kid Buu. Goku was so impressed with Buu throughout the saga that he even used up the last bits of his allotted 24 hours on Earth to basically show off by going Super Saiyan 3. He was so blown away by Buu's potential that even after their final battle, he expressed his wishes for Buu to be reincarnated someday, just to get one more chance to fight him. Just not quite as evil this time. Beerus was most certainly a breath of fresh air for Dragon Ball fans after nearly 17 years since Dragon Ball Z ended in 1996. Yeah, there was GT, but most of us like to pretend that that one doesn't exist. When Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods was first announced, the fanbase exploded with excitement and wondered where Akira Toriyama would be taking the franchise in his triumphant return. For the most part, Battle of Gods and the subsequent Dragon Ball Super and other films have lived up to the hype and even exceeded it for many. Beerus was introduced as a temperamental, sleepy god of destruction on the hunt for a real challenge against a legendary Super Saiyan god. His search brought him to the planet of King Kai, where Goku had taken to training on and off in the years following Buu's destruction. Nonplussed by King Kai's utter terror at the sight of Beerus, Goku gleefully jumped at the chance to fight a strong opponent and was subsequently stomped out. It was no joke. Beerus 360 no-scoped that bad boy right out of the gate. Who knows? Maybe that beatdown explains why the art in those episodes looked so, well, the way it does. Perhaps the awe-inspiring moment most deserving of being on this list is Goku's introduction to the greatest fighter in Universe 7, Menaka. Although everyone in the show and audience immediately saw through Beerus' facade, Goku was mystified by the powers that Menaka might have been hiding beneath that lumpy green shirt of his. Yes, it was ultimately revealed that Menaka was simply part of a ploy by Beerus to keep Goku from getting lazy in his training, but could his selection have been any less imposing? Menaka, a delivery man when not masquerading as the greatest fighter in the universe, found himself in the terrifying position of being the target of Goku's ire, and the wrath of Beerus, who by no means wanted Goku to learn the truth. Beerus, desperate to keep the con going, even donned a Menaka disguise and fought Goku. The costume could barely withstand the force of their blows, resulting in one of the funnier episodes of the whole series. The trick worked, however, and Goku was left absolutely blown away by the strength that Menaka displayed in their short match, somehow completely unaware of the big holes in the costume and big purple arms sticking out. We know that sometimes our boy Goku can be easily impressed, so tell us which Dragon Ball moments filled you with the most awe in the comments section below. Before you go, make sure to click on that subscribe button for more videos from us here at CBR. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.